Hello, everyone. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? You've been
I'm great.
traveling.
What do you say?
You've been traveling.
A little bit, not too far. It
Yeah,
still feels like almost like a staycation, but we drove down like a little bit down the California coast,
yeah. Oh,
um,
that's awesome.
where it is lovely and overcast here. um, I feel very lucky today, and I think many folks will feel the same way that I do, that we somehow still get to see you. Um, on your vacation week. So we're going to cherish this hour with you and then hope we don't mess up your vacation funk and that you still get to enjoy your the remainder of your vacation. That we don't mess it
No,
up.
no. I need to get back into work mode anyway. Tomorrow is my last day off, and honestly, I'm going to be spending tomorrow kind of preparing for the week. So, this is actually like my step back into the world of working and out of staycation mode, but I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it. I wasn't prepared to enjoy it, but I
But
did.
it's been good.
It's been good. It's been really good. Yeah. Yeah, had a lot of fun. Did a lot of things that I probably should have done sooner, but it is what it is, I guess.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Before we started, Sarah was like, I got really sunburned.
I did. My shoulders are as red as my hair. It's pretty serious.
Well, that just means you're enjoying life right now, which is fabulous. So, thank you all for joining us today. I hope everyone's just here to hang with us and just relax a little bit. Sarah and I are both sort of on vacation, but we still want to do class. And Sarah came up with like a lovely design. So, and it's like, I don't think it's gonna be too complicated either. So we're here to just like feel good today.
Yes.
This is maybe the Sam's Bead Shop version of Sarah's Feel Good Fridays.
Love that. Yes, yes.
I love the whole idea of your Feel Good Fridays. I think it's so smart.
Thank you.
Like easy wins is great. Like at the end of the week, it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
So
Some of our people are saying they've been having Sarah withdrawal. That's funny because even though I did get into vacation mode, I missed everybody. It's hard not to do Facebook Live. It's hard to not log in and say hi to everybody. Do you feel that way when you're away? Do you like miss being here?
I don't know when the last time I was away, but I don't know. I like very habitually check Facebook a lot because I love seeing like all the creations in the feed. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
But it has been so different. I haven't gotten all my Sarah pings this week. You've truly done it this week.
I
stepped
did.
away.
I really, truly did step away. And I originally had said that I wasn't going to. I had said, oh, yeah, I'll be around on social media. And, but by Monday evening, I was ready to completely unplug and just kind of focus on my family. And that's what I did. And we had a great week. My niece was in town. I spent some time with my kids who are on summer vacation, and
Oh.
We just kind of focused on being a family, just us. And, it was very long overdue. So I feel like I'm coming back refreshed and looking forward. So it's all good. It's all good. It was worth it.
Did you guys do anything fun this week?
We went to the pool. That's where I got turned into a lobster. And then yesterday we went to this place that we have that's called Main Event. And it's just like this great big huge complex that has bowling and laser tag and pool and an arcade. And there's like a ropes course and that whole
Excuse
thing.
me, why was I not there?
Well, laser tag is like one of my very favorite things in the whole world to do, and we did like 7 games. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
You go like secret spy mode.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was so fun, and I was always on the winning team. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. It's something that I used to do as a teenager, and so the fact that my teenagers like to do that now, it just makes me really happy. So we had a great time. It was fun.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So today we are working on Herringbone, which is not something I think I've done before, but folks in Sarah's community have done a whole lot of because it's one of Sarah's signatures.
Yes, one of my favorites.
So I had sent out a little packet to Sarah to play with, and she totally surprised me combining herringbone with some of the components and beads that I had sent, and came up with just some lovely gemstone and TierraCast earrings that we'll get to show you in just a second. And I'm sure Sara will walk us all the way through the herringbone if you have not yet familiar with herringbone. And I'll let you take it from here, Sara.
Yay! Okay, well, first, before we do, you got to tell me how to pronounce the name of these beads, because I could not even begin to pronounce what they're called.
I know. I was just editing the supply list when I was, because folks want it. It's in this post. If you click overview, and I was like, oh wait, Sara did get the spelling. There must be some cross wires here. So as far as I know, it's Cacoxenite.
Okay, I'm not even going to try to say that.
It's an amethyst material and the Cacoxenite is actually like the formations within the amethyst.
That makes sense, because when I first saw it, I was like, this is amethyst, and then I read the sticker and I was like, well, but no, it's not, but it is, right?
Yeah, it's also called Cacoxenite amethyst. I've seen sometimes, but I've also seen it. Yeah, it's really cool, and you can get some really cool variation within the beads, which is why I fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's really awesome. All right, so I guess we'll just dive right in, right? I don't think we don't need anything else. So you're going to tell us though about, let me turn this around while I'm chatting here.
What am I going to do?
About these beautiful components that you sent from TierraCast.
I mean, sure, many folks are familiar with TierraCast.
These are so pretty though. Gosh.
They are all their cast items are cast in the Bay Area, California. And then they do really nice platings on them, and they have like at least 5 different platings I can think of.
Yeah.
So which one do you have in front of you right now?
I've got the Lotus for our earrings, and it's so beautiful.
Is it the copper tone? I'm having a little hard time telling from my
screen. It is the
copper
tone, but I got to tell you, the wire that I actually used to go with it is rose gold, because the copper wire that I had was just a little too orange. So I went with the rose gold, and I think that it matched really, really well. It really kind of softened everything up. But it's cool because you could go either way if you wanted to. I just felt like that rose gold kind of complemented the purple from the beads just a little bit more than the orangey from just a straight copper. But I was really just kind of looking to see how close I could get to this beautiful copper that was in the component itself. So it'll work either way. As a matter of fact, I did this with silver too, just to see, and it looks great with silver. So you don't have to just have the rose gold wire to do this. A lot of colors are going to work really well with that component. It's really beautiful.
Lovely. Yeah. So these are the first time I've actually carried TierraCast starting this last couple of weeks. So these are I picked out some of my favorites of TierraCast, like pretty big line of options. So these are on the website, samsbeadshop.com. And then you can also find the Cacoxenite that Sara is working with. And those are the main pieces that Sara's using today.
It's so pretty. Just so you can see the differences in it, guys. It's really gorgeous. Each bead has its own little personality. So love that. Love that. All right. So let's talk about the herringbone wire wrapping. This absolutely is one of my very favorite techniques in the entire world. And that is not an exaggeration. I live and breathe herringbone. If I can do it in a project, I do. It's so much fun because it's such a unique technique in that you can change this and do so many different things with it that it becomes like, I don't really know how to explain it. It's like once you figure this out, you've opened the door to some creativity that maybe is still untouched, that you haven't quite delved down that road yet. I cannot wait to show you this. So this is the herringbone. This is what we're going to start with. We're going to start with what I learned the very first time I learned herringbone, which was to do it on both sides of a round bead. And then I'm going to show you how to very easily do the same thing to do it on just one side of a bead. But what I'm hoping is that once you learn how to do this part, then you can be inspired to do other things with it. So let me just show you this with seed beads. This is herringbone as well, around a electroplated shell bead. It's the exact same technique. I've just altered it just a little bit and added seed beads to my wire wraps. It gives it a completely different look. You would never know.
I was going to say, I was like, that looks like you've done some seed beading, but it's wire work. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's wire. And people who don't know how to make jewelry you would never know this is the exact same technique, right? But it is. It's the same thing. And it's so fun. And then once you kind of get a hang of this, then you can really change it up. And you can go even further with it. So you can actually add large beads into your herringbone like I've done here, instead of just seed beads or instead of just the wire. So it becomes one of those things where you start here, but you could end up with a piece. You know, you can make a huge, like, centerpiece of a necklace. You start here and just start building out, and it can get really big and very intricate and just beautiful. It's just a lot of fun. And I think that a lot of people look at it and think, oh, that's really hard to do, but it's really not, because it's the same technique over and over and over again. You're just altering it just slightly. So that's why it's one of my favorites. I really, really enjoy it. And honestly, I didn't know anybody who did it. So I kind of had to teach myself how to do it. All the people that I watched and learned how to create jewelry from, nobody was doing this technique. And I actually found, some artists to watch that were in Mexico. And so my first experiences with this was all in Spanish. And my Spanish and my jewelry Spanish got really, really good.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah. All right. So let me get you started. Okay. This is what our earring looks like, and this is where we're going to go with it. So we're going to do the standard herringbone up here on either side of a bead. We're going to attach it to our beautiful Lotus component here. And then we're going to do a single herringbone on a bead. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is to go from this to this, because they're pretty much the same. I felt like showing you both of these wasn't going to overwhelm you. So to get started, you're going to need some 24 gauge wire. I'm using artistic wire, and I'm using rose gold for this. And I do recommend that if you've never done this before, to start with the 24 gauge wire, because it's nice and soft and it's easy to work with. And you can use artistic wire, or you can use a German style wire. Either one is going to be just fine. Don't feel like this has to be a German style or a German style wire project. Artistic wire, dead soft wires are going to work just as well.
Oh, it's cool to hear that there's flexibility in this. In the wire wrap.
So our piece needs to be, I believe I said 18 inches. 18 to 20 inches is going to be plenty. You're probably going to have some left over. And our beads are 8mm beads. So if you're going to go with a bigger bead, you obviously want a little bit more wire, or if it's a smaller bead, you're going to use less. So that's kind of a given. But we are going to start this like we start any other wrapped loop. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the wire, but I'm going to come down a little bit more than what I normally would. If I were just going to make a simple wrapped loop, I would probably start right about here, but I need extra wire to do more wraps. So I'm going to double that length. So about 2 inches is where we're going to start. Grab the wire with your pliers, and you just want to give it a sharp bend. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, grabbing that wire so it's running between the barrel of the pliers, and then I'm going to take the wire up and over the top barrel. Now we got to rotate so that we can take the wire over to the other side to close up that loop. I'm going to switch hands, and we are going to wire wrap, but instead of doing our standard 3, we're going to do like 10 to 11 wraps. So I've got 2, there's 3, 4, 5.
It's just so many.
6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is about all I'm going to get out of that piece of wire, which is fine. Now, here's the great part about the wire wrapping for this. It doesn't have to be pretty. If your wire wraps are funky and they have big spaces between them and gaps, that's okay, because you're going to cover all of it up with the herringbone. You'll never even see it. So don't worry if your wire wraps are not even and all lined up. It makes absolutely no difference. What you're looking for is almost 1/4 of an inch of the wire wrap. So if you want to use your ruler, you can. I just tend to eyeball it. So I'm looking for about 1/4 of an inch of wraps. I'm going to thread my bead on, and I'm going to drop that down right next to those wraps. Okay. So now I want to repeat this process on the opposite side of this bead, but I need to space out so that I've got enough room for all those wraps over here. So instead of coming in like we would for a normal wrapped loop, where we would place our pliers right up against the bead, we need to eyeball it or use your ruler and place your pliers out away from the bead in the same amount of space that you have on the other side. And I never get it exactly right because I refuse to use a ruler because I'm a rebel. But if you if you want to use a ruler, you can get it exact. Okay, so I've just made my bend in the wire, and it's pretty close. If it's not, it's only off by just a little bit. So now I'm going to come in again with my round nose pliers. Same thing, up and over. I got to rotate the pliers. Whoops. What have I done here? Rotate the pliers to get the wire over to the other side. Now I can really kind of see. I'm a little over. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I can tell just by looking at it that this side is a little bit longer than this side, but it's not going to be enough to really make that big of a difference. So I'm just going to leave it like it is.
If you say so.
I'm gonna put this back on the pliers, and I'm gonna wrap in here. And again, it doesn't matter if your wire wraps are perfect or not. Makes no difference. Just fill in the space.
To do one of the most perfect coil wrappings I've ever seen.
No.
I don't even think you could mess that up if you tried at this point.
No, I definitely could. Trust me.
It's like I remember at school, folks would try to sing out of tune, and it's really hard.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. I guess it is.
It's like funny. I don't think I could intentionally anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, so now the wire is coming from around the back and going out this direction, right? So it's coming to the front of the wraps, right? It's coming around the back, out the front. Now I want to keep it in the front. That's the trick to herringbone, is you always want to be to the front of your wire wraps. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, we're going to take the wire down the side of the bead here. Okay, so we want to lay it up against the side of the bead. And when we get down here to the bottom where the wire wraps are, we want that wire to go in front of those wire wraps so that it's coming from the front, but it's also ending down here on the front as well. Hold that in place, wrap around the wire wraps that are already there, and come back out to the front. And that's going to lock that first wrap down the side of your bead in place. Okay, so now we're going to repeat that on the other side of the bead. We're going to lay the wire against the side of the bead, and we want to come again to the front of these wire wraps. So hold that in place, come to the front of the wire wraps, wrap around, and back out to the front. Now you framed your bead with one of the wraps on either side, and you can see both of those wires are coming to the front of these wire wraps on the top and on the bottom. Okay. Now, we want to continue this to build up our herringbone. And because of the way that the herringbone looks on a singular bead, the wraps are going to go behind each wrap before it.
I love the look from the side there.
I know, super cool, right? So you don't do this when you're adding beads to it, but when you're doing it with just plain wire, you want it to go behind the previous wrap. So we're going to go down the side of the bead again. We want to lay the wire behind the wire that's already in place, but we're still coming to the front of the wire wraps on the top. Wrap around, back out the front. So you can see that wire is laying behind the first wire. Same thing on the other side. Okay, we're going to take the wire, we're going to bend it and guide it behind the wire that's already there and to the front of the wire wraps, wrap around and back out the front. And you can see the beginnings of that herringbone are starting to take shape. This little section right here, they call that the herringbone because it looks like fish bones. When you have it all done, it looks like maybe the little spine or the rib cage of a fish, which is kind of gross, but makes a really cool wire. Makes a great wire project.
I wonder how it is to explain that to a client. This is my new technique. It's inspired from a dead fish.
All right, so now we're going to go behind the last wrap. Okay, so make sure it's laying back behind, up to the wire wraps in the front, around, and back out the front. Okay, so that's really all there is to it. You're always going behind the wire that's laying on the bead, but you're always going in front of the wire wraps on the top and the bottom. Once you get that part figured out, it becomes so much easier. If you try to go behind the wire wraps, you're really going to cause some frustration for yourself, and it's never going to come out looking the way you want it to. So that in front of the wire wraps part, when I say that's important, it really, truly is important because it saves you so much frustration. It really, really does. All right. So next time around the bead, we're going behind the last wrap that was there to the front of the wire wraps, around and back out the front. And you can see how we're just kind of filling in the space with our wire wraps. So if you were going to do a larger herringbone section, you would need a larger area of wire wraps. So if we were using maybe a bigger bead, or if we wanted this to be a really large pendant with just a singular bead in the center, we could still use a small bead. But if we wanted more wire wraps, you're going to have more. If you want more of the herringbone showing, rather, you're going to have more of the wire wraps to go around and fill up with your herringbone, if that makes any sense. So just got to keep that part in mind. All right. So again, down the side of the bead, behind the wraps that are already there, up here to the wire wraps, wrap around and back out the front. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing behind the last wrap, to the front of the wire wraps, around and back out. So I'm just going to fill up the spaces. So how many wraps is it going to take? I don't know. I'm not real sure. I'm just going to go until I fill up the spaces, really. It's more than anything, I just want to fill up the sides. So I feel like 4 or 5 wraps. It's probably pretty close. And I want them both to match, because they are earrings. So
my favorite puppy. I can hear my favorite puppies.
Yeah, they decided that they need to have WrestleMania while we're having class.
It's fantastic. They're so beautiful.
Thank you. They are something else, that's for sure. My German Shepherd's been bringing his Frisbee to bed at night, and I keep waking up with it at my face. I'm not a fan. Okay, now, while I was talking, I didn't mean to finish there, but what I did was I've come up around here, okay, because I've gone down the bead one last time. I'm up here, and I'm going to wrap around maybe twice, or 2 or 3 times, whatever, just to cover up any of the extra space, to just fill in, if you will, with the wire wraps. Okay. Coming to the back, and I'm going to trim off the excess wire. And our first bead is done. Now you can see they're very similar. They don't match exactly, but when they're on your ears, nobody is really going to know that maybe one of them has one more wrap than the other. Nobody will ever know the difference, but that's the front. And then when you look at the back, this is kind of what the back looks like. So you can see where we've wrapped up all of the wire wraps that were already there. So that's why I say, if your wire wraps are messy, or they're not nice and neat, and you don't like the way they look, you're going to wrap up over them with all of these wraps. So you'll never even know. So I feel like that's a good way to kind of give yourself a break because this technique kind of hides all of your little jewelry making insecurities, you know?
Isn't that lovely? And they're pretty. They're so pretty, Sarah.
They are pretty, and they're really fun to do with lots of different colors of wire. I like to use the artistic wires that are in colors other than just the metal colors and mix and match. So like a purple bead with a green herringbone, all of that is so fun. Makes really cool little links for bracelets too. Instead of earrings, if you just wanted to make like a whole chain of these with jump rings in between them, make a really awesome bracelet. Okay, so our top section for our necklace, or I'm sorry, our earring is done, which was this part right here. And now we're going to come down here to this bottom section, which is very, very similar, but just a tiny bit different. We're only going to do the herringbone on one side. Okay, so just kind of giving you an overview of what the sample looks like so you can see. So we're going to take another piece of wire. This time we don't need nearly as much, still using the 24 gauge wire in rose gold. And you only need about 9 to 10 inches of this. And you probably will have some left over, but it's better to have a little bit more than not enough. We're going to start this the same way, but this time I only want to do maybe 6 wire wraps. I don't want 10 or 11. I just want, you know, just a few. So I'm going to come up a little bit more. So I've got like 1.5 inches from the top of my wire to my pliers. And I'm going to start out exactly the same. I'm going to give the wire a nice sharp bend. And then I'm going to come in, with my round nose pliers. Okay, wire up and over, rotate the pliers, take the wire over to close up that loop. We're going to switch hands, and I'm going to do about 6 wire wraps in here. So there's 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then we're going to come in with our cutter tool and trim that off. And again, if they're not pretty, it's okay because we're going to cover them all up. So we're going to take another bead and we're going to drop that down right up next to the wraps. Find the hole on the bead. There we go. Okay. Now, because we don't want wraps down here, we only want the herringbone on one end, we're going to take our wire and we're going to bend it just to kind of lock that bead in place. Now we can kind of let go and our bead's not going to slide down the wire. But we're going to take that wire that we've bent and we're going to guide it up the side of the bead and to the front of those wire wraps. So we're going to treat it the exact same way. Go to the front of the wire wraps, wrap around and back out the front. Okay. Now we're going to go down the side of the bead, but we're going to have to go all the way around the bead this time because we don't have wraps here to stop and wrap around. So we're going to guide it down the side of the bead. And then we're going to go behind that wrap that is coming out, or the wire rather, that's coming out of the bead. Up here to the front of the wire wraps, wrap around and back out. So now you've got 2 wraps on one side and 1 wrap on the other side. You can see. Okay. Now we're going to repeat that again, going behind the wrap and going behind the other wraps. And it might want to slip. That's okay. That's just kind of the way it goes when you're using a round bead. Okay. Up here to the front of the wire wraps, around and back out. So now we have a little baby section of our herringbone wire wrapping, just so that it matches, right? It all goes together. And I'm going to wrap it around one more time. And then I'm going to come to the back and I'm going to trim off the excess. And if you've got any little pieces that are sticking out, you want to use your pliers, kind of tuck those in. And your single bead is done. Now, before we put this all together, I want to show you one little quick thing before we assemble everything. So we've got our top and our bottom ready to go. We're going to put those together in just a second. But let's say you really like the look of it with the herringbone on both sides, but you don't want to hang anything from the bottom of it, right? You just don't want to add anything to it. but you like the way it looks like this. So you just want to come in with your pliers and grab whatever's going to be the bottom loop, bend it to the back, and then kind of flatten it down to the back, lay it up against those wraps that are there. And now when you come to the front, it's gone. So you can have that wire wrapped, that double herringbone wire wrap look without a loop on the bottom. So you don't have to feel obligated to hang anything from it, which is just a little, you know, I mean, it's simple enough, but some people really like the look of it on the top and the bottom, but don't want to hang anything from it. So it makes just a really beautiful little simple pendant all by itself if you tuck that loop back here and flatten it on the back. So just a little extra something.
Now it's a little pendant ready to go.
Yep. All right. So now we're just going to put our earrings together. And this part is super, super easy. But when we get done with that, if it's okay, since we have a little bit of time, Sam, I want to show everybody how to make their own ear wires. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to put this together real quick, and then I'm going to show you how to put together or how to make your own ear wire. And I'll tell you why I love to be able to do that. So all I'm going to do is just use some 6mm jump rings here, just between two pairs of pliers. I'm going to walk that open, thread that on, and then I'm going to thread my top wire wrapped bead here. And then I'm going to do a bottom jump ring for our bottom bead and close that back. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the ear wire that I have here to this, but this is the one that I'm going to show you guys how to make. And the reason that I love to be able to make my own ear wires is because they match. The metal matches. So I use the rose gold artistic wire to wrap around the bead, but I didn't have any ear wires that matched. And I was afraid that if I went with copper, it would just be too dark. So because I can make my quick and easy ear wires, they always match whatever it is that I am creating. So I'm going to show you real quick how to make those. So let me close that back, and we have our earrings ready. They're so fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm in love with them, Sarah. I never
so
imagined
pretty.
all of these techniques together. The herringbone with TierraCast with the Cacoxenite. I think it's a fantastic combo.
I think so too. And I love that purple with this copper and rose gold mix. It's just so feminine and so pretty. Very light, if you will. however you want to interpret that. It's very light, you know? So, all right. Let me show you the ear wires real quick. Let me grab, I'm going to use a different color wire. Hold on. Grab. Okay. So to make your own ear wires, I'm going to use silver for this real quick. These are so fast and really, really comfortable. And I'm really picky about my ear wires and how they fit in my ear. These are my all-time favorites. So I'm going to take a piece of wire. I use 20 gauge for my ear wires, and that's pretty much the standard for all of my ear wires. I find that 18 gauge is a little too thick for a lot of my customers. So 20 gauge is the sweet spot. 22 tends to be a little too soft and flexible. So I go with the 20. I love this tool. This is my stepped bell making pliers, and mine's made from Bead, but there are a lot of companies that make this or make a version of this. If you don't have this, you can use like a combination of your small bell making pliers and your large bell making pliers, but you can even do this with just little mandrels if that's all you have. So I'm going to use the very small end here to make our very first loop. So I'm going to grab my wire between the barrel of those pliers, and I'm just going to turn a quick little loop, and I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm not going to break the neck or straighten up the wire or anything. I want to leave it exactly like it is. Then I'm going to use the largest portion of this tool, or if you're using your large bell making pliers, you want to use the large barrel, and I want to place this into the tool just like this, so that, let's see, kind of an awkward angle here, but so that that loop is sitting right up against the barrels of the pliers here. There's no extra wiggle room. I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to guide it over that top, that large barrel. And then I'm going to take it off of the tool. So this is this funny little shape that we have. I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, and the way that I get these even every single time is I place the wire into my cutter so that the loop is sitting right up against the tool, so that every single one of these that I make, I cut them in the exact same spot. So they're always going to match. Go ahead and give that a cut. And we have this, which doesn't look like much at the moment, but we're going to come in with our pliers and we're just going to turn a little crook right at the end. Just give it a little tiny bend. And then you just want to open it up with your fingers and you got yourself an ear wire. So comfortable. so comfortable. So that's the basics. At this point, I would put it on a block and work harden it a little bit. And then you definitely want to file the end. Don't leave it like it is. Those little tiny pieces, like the microscopic pieces of wire, can infect your piercing. So you definitely want to sand or file off the end. Just use an emery board, or if you've got a rounder tip to round off your wire, do that. But that's as easy as it comes. And that way they always match whatever, you know, whatever metal I've got, I can just use the same color. So I have the rose gold ones to go with my earrings. I have silver to go with whatever. And the gold, really and truly, the reason why I ever learned how to make these was because my gold, like my gold wire is one
It never
color.
matches.
It never matches. Sometimes it's too yellow. Sometimes it's not. And so this was really handy and super easy to do. So there you go. Ta-da. I never know how to finish. I'm like, okay, the end. We're done. Tra-la-la.
Oh, they're great. I just try to see if we had one question folks were discussing in the comments, but I think folks might have addressed it. I think they were curious about like if it's possible to not have like a front and back of the herringbone, but I think the technique itself will have a front and a back to it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It will always have a front and back to it. There is a way. I say that, but there is a way, and I have not done it in a million years, but you use an additional piece of wire. And as you are doing your wrapping with the wire that's attached, okay, so this wire that's already here, you would go down the side of the bead, wrap around. Then you're going to take an additional piece of wire, wrap it around, and you're going to go to the back. It is possible, but the problem lies with making the wire wraps match up with each other and not overlaying each other on the sides. So it's tricky. I've never got it to come out. I've never gotten it to come out looking good. It always looks like a hot mess. So I just always kind of stick with just having a front and a back. But you can do it with an additional wire. It just doesn't ever look as pretty. So I'm not going to say you can't do it, but you know, it's just not a pretty, it's not a pretty look.
Yeah. I mean, this is the technique, and it has, it's beautiful, and it has a front and a back. So
yeah, it does. It does. There's a way around it, but I think it changes too much of it. So you don't want to sacrifice the look of the herringbone just to cover the back of your bead, you know? I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I also
just my opinion.
I like how it creates this really cool encasement. It's almost like it's a wire stone setting to me.
Yeah, very, very much. That's what it reminds me of too. And I use it that way in a lot of my designs to make it, you know, it's like a little setting. And you can do it over other wires. So we use the same wire to make our core, right, that our bead is on, but you could use a different wire for your core. You could slide your beads onto memory wire. You could slide your beads onto a different color or a different gauge wire, and then do your herringbone technique with an extra piece of wire. So there's just so many different variations of this technique, so many different things to learn and try once you learn the basics of it. That's why I'm so obsessed with it, because there's so many things you can do.
Yeah, I'm loving it. We're actually like ahead of schedule today. So just if folks have anything else they wanted to take a look at within Herringbone today,
Yeah.
let us know. But that basically, we've basically been able to cover the basic wrap. So you can always watch these videos on replay. They're on the Sam's Bead Shop YouTube channel, and they're on the Sam's Bead Shop Facebook page. But the YouTube channel's way more searchable. If you just search Sam's Bead Shop and then maybe like Herringbone, this video will pop up afterwards. And you can go back and make along with Sara when you have your materials ready.
I'm going to turn you around.
I'm going to guess this is like, there's a lot of flexibility to this. Like you could vary the size of the beads that go in. Do you find will work best with a round bead?
Well, actually, no. Well, I guess if you're a beginner, I would definitely say start out with a round bead to go, to get started, and maybe in the beginning to go with maybe even a bigger bead than an 8mm bead like we've used. Just if you feel like you're a little uneasy about using the wire, but this is a technique that you can do on any shape of bead that you want to, and the results are different, which makes it really, really cool. Because if you use a square bead, right, or a rectangular shaped bead, your results are going to look very, very different. If you use an oval bead, your results are going to be very, very different. So it's fun to try, the different shapes and styles of the beads and see what happens. There are some shapes that it will not work on, but for the most part, I've been able to do it on things like hearts. It's really cool on things like that. So there's more of the herringbone on the top than there is on the bottom. So it looks different, it just has a completely different feel, but it's the exact same technique.
How do you have less wraps on the bottom?
So because of the way a heart is shaped, it's really not that there are less wraps. It visually kind of gives the illusion that there are less, because where the heart comes down like this, because the wires are going behind each other as you're going down the side of the bead, they kind of close into the back of the bottom of the heart. But at the top, you see them because you've got that space between where the heart comes together, that V in there. So you see more of it. It's not really that it's less, but it does visually look like it is.
Totally. Folks were asking like where the beads are from. You can, I think, because I saw someone was asking if these are from Sam's Bead Box. These are actually Sam's Bead Shop beads. There's kind of two sides to Sam's Bead Shop. So there's a whole website of over I think 800 different beads you can buy right now. And every week we have 50 new beads that you can try out. So that's samsbeadshop.com. And then not to be confused with the very fun Sam's Bead Box, which is the monthly mystery, very fun subscription that happens to be shipping in 1 week. So if you're not a subscriber, you should definitely subscribe. I will post the link. And if you're coming over from Sara, use code Sara for $5 off your first box.
Is that still going? That's still a thing? Yeah.
Always, forever and always, Sara. Forever and always.
Okay, cool. Whoa, I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
Which one is this?
He's insisting that he gets to be part of the show.
Oh my God, he's perfection. Yeah, so Wanda was saying in the comments, we do live sales on Monday and Thursday now, right here on the page, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then Sam's Bead Box you can subscribe to, and then you don't have to think about it. It'll just renew each month, and you'll get a whole lot of beads in the mail. It's one of the best price offerings I have in the shop. There's over 20 items coming in the July box, I believe, and it's very coastal.
Oh, it's coastal. Did you just give us a hint?
I didn't say anything. I'm just at a beach. I'm just on a beach town right now. I didn't say anything.
Let anything slip. So that's a surprise that you said anything.
I don't know. I just happen to be at a beach town right now. I don't know.
Oh, nice. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. July is my birthday month. So I'm celebrating all month long, and that's part of my celebration. So I can't wait. Cannot wait.
I think there's some items you're really gonna like, Sara. There's some cool stuff this month.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to do something later in the month in your group.
Yes.
because we only have Sara for one more week in the shop. Next week is our last week of our Sara Lovecraft series.
I'm always around, though.
I
Always
know,
around.
but it's like it still feels like an ending, and I hate endings.
I don't like them either, but anytime you want me to come back, I am more than happy to. So you just let me know.
Well, that's so sweet. Like I knew someone who couldn't do goodbyes. Like it just wasn't a thing. They would just leave. Like they couldn't emotionally handle a goodbye.
Right.
This is like a full-grown adult. So they just leave. And then they don't have to. Then there's never a long, extended, sad goodbye. It's just there just isn't one. Oh my gosh, Julie just said Sara has a group. Heck yeah, Sara has a group. It is called Sara Lovecraft Design Community.
You got it. Yep.
And there's a second group.
Yes.
That I always mess up the name for, so I will try so you can laugh at me. Live Wires Hardwired.
You got it.
I'm wrong.
No, you got it. You got it. So we usually just kind of refer to ourselves as the hardwired group, but everybody in the design community calls themselves Live Wires. So I thought, well, I have to kind of include that in the name. So it's the Live Wires Hardwired. And that's my paid group where it's actually open for enrollment right now. So if anybody wants to come and join, you've got like maybe 24 to 48 hours until we close enrollment for that. But it's just a step above what my normal group is. So our regular group, we have Facebook Lives 3 times a week. And the Hardwired group is a paid group. There's 2 lives a week. And then there's a special guest. There are extra things that you get from that group, as well as the projects being a little bit harder. So it's a lot of the projects are not super hard, but it is a step above like what I give for like the free lives with our regular group. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely come and check us out. I need to sweet talk Sam into come and being our special guest. So
I want to talk about bead buying because there's just a lot of like nuance that I've learned over the years, and like I just feel like that could be a great topic about the difference of Chinese and Czech glass and whatnot, and like will never claim to be a all-encompassing authority, but I've learned a lot through by mistake and through research over the many years of owning the shop. So also Sara's paid group is just a really great way to be able to support Sara and what she is doing. So
absolutely, yes.
It is not particularly expensive you can do monthly or by the quarter and get a discount. Yeah. And it's just a great way to support one of the very lovely creators in this industry.
Thank you. And we're building a really great group. It's, there's more one-on-one time because there's less members than like my regular community group. So, if that's something that people are interested in, it's like having a tutor, you've got kind of like an inside line to directly ask questions and bounce ideas off of each other. So we've really enjoyed building the group that we're building, and looking forward to the future with that. So yeah, if it's interesting for you guys, come hang out. Yes.
So with that, we're gonna wrap up. Sara has a little bit more vacation time she needs to enjoy.
Just a tiny bit. A little sliver.
We're gonna start. What do you say?
Just a little sliver left, but
well, you better I hope you can savor it.
Me too.
Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss any last questions. Dana, thank you. Dana said, I've tried several different bead box subscriptions and Sam has the best value. That is awesome. I am so glad to hear that. Because I don't think there are a lot of boxes that are all gemstone and Czech glass. So there's definitely, my goal was just to be able to have like I want you to have nice things. Like it wouldn't sit with me to send like a lot of just like subpar things because it's a subscription box and whatnot. Like, right. I wanted to, I love Czech glass and I love gemstone. So that is what my box is.
We do too. So we're glad you do it.
Yeah. Basically. So I think we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you all for being here with us. And
Thank you guys. Thank you, Sam, for having me again.
oh, it's literally always such a pleasure, Sarah. Always, always, always. So if you want to sign up for Sam's Beadbox, that is samsbeadbox.com. Link is in the comments. But Sarah and I are going to hop off. And if you want to catch the replay, head over to the YouTube channel. And you can also check out Sarah's. If they search Sara Lovecraft on YouTube, will your channel pop up?
Yep.
Cool. And Sarah has lots of videos going back. That's where she archives all of her 3 times a week lives are there. So endless inspiration. And then Sam's Bead Shop channel has tons of classes saved there. So there's always more to explore and try in your jewelry making journey. So go try out a new technique and share what you make in Sarah's group.
Yes. Tag us so we can see it.
Oh yeah. So you can share in Sarah's group and you can share in the Sam's Bead Shop group. Which the one you want to share in is the Gem Chat group. That's the place to share finished creations. So link is in the comments. Sarah and I are hopping off. Good. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, and happy July 4th weekend.
Yes. Happy holiday weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.